All right, welcome back to another episode of Two Fans, 12 Rings. Jeff here. Brad, how you been, man?
I've been good. October kind of got busy there for a little bit, but sports were flowing. If you're on the sports books, a lot of the public side had a heck of an October there for a 2-3 week stretch. A lot of people winning money. Few wins, few losses along the way. Hockey's in full swing. NBA started. Steelers are doing well. Texas is doing. I've been good. How you?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I've also been pretty good. This last couple weeks is kind of a blur for me. But last weekend we had my son's U8 soccer tournament. This is a crazy statistic, but last year his team didn't let up a goal the entire regular season, and then the playoffs. They had, of their 4 games, 2 of them were decently close. This year, the entire season, regular season and playoffs, they allowed a total of 1 goal. It was, they're just far and away a really good team. There's just no disparaging. They're just killing people.
Kind of sounds like the 2023 Michigan Wolverines.
Dude, they're just obliterating people. You almost feel bad, but you know what? It's not our job to feel bad. It's our job to coach our kids hard and teach them about competition and playing at their full potential. You know what I mean? So, But I think all things considered, it's been a crazy couple weeks. Michigan dropped a couple games there. That's one thing. I did go to an away game. I went to Illinois with some friends. Heck of a trip. Came up with a loss. Michigan's just not the 2023 team that they were, last year. But I'm still cheering them on. They host number 1 Oregon, and I wouldn't say I'm checked out, but I expect to lose some games at this point. And if they're able to upset number 1 Oregon, I'm going to be all the way back on the bandwagon. That's going to be huge. So, let's talk some NFL. Let's start things off with the boys. I texted you the day that Russell Wilson was announced the starter in Pittsburgh, and I said, what a horrible effing decision. Well, since that time, Russ has looked pretty good, including his first outing. He had 3 total touchdowns, 2 passing and 1 rushing, or 3 passing and 1. It was a lot. And then this past Monday, he looked pretty solid too. Go ahead.
Well, I would joke with anybody when they asked me about the decision. I was like, he'll go in and do bad, and then we'll get Fields back on the field, But anyone who actually, was able to sit down and talk to me, it's the same thing I give everybody all the time. I'm going to always trust Mike Tomlin. I will sink or swim with Mike Tomlin. And it's funny in hindsight, when he says Justin's been good, not to be confused with great. It's like maybe he actually knows how to coach. 17 years in the NFL, he gets it. So I'm not going to slam on the brakes here. I'm not going to put this, through the windshield, but I'll soft pump because it was the 2 New York teams. And they're dog shit, both of them. So I am going to soft pump a little bit on how good it's been, but I love where we're at. Being 6-2 is great. Russ has looked phenomenal. The offense is walking down the field at times. Couple called back touchdowns take away some points. Matt Canada, I got this stat from the Pat McAfee show. Matt Canada in 44 games never had a 400-yard game. Arthur Smith has 3 this year of total offense. Najee Harris, 3 straight 100-yard rushing games. George Pickens looks like a number 1 receiver, the way that Russell Wilson uses him, where we'll throw to him blindly. The defense is top 10 in just about any category you could pick. What they're paid that way, they should be. A couple bad third downs we gave up last night. But overall, you want to get to 10 wins to try and make the playoffs. We're sitting at 6-2 going into our bye week. A hell of a schedule coming up after the bye week. But winning 4 of the 9 would put us at 10, and I think our team aspires to be a little bit better than that. So I'm very excited for what this season has in store. If you're not familiar with the Steelers' schedule, we did talk about it before the season, but after the bye week, in any order, they have all 6 divisional games. So 2 Bengals, 2 Ravens, 2 Browns, and the 3 non-divisional games are Commanders, Eagles, Chiefs. So it is going to be a war these last 2 months of the season, but I don't know. I think Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are built for it.
Yeah, what are they sitting at? 5-3 right now?
6-2.
6-2. What a great
And
start.
I know football, this and that. It really felt like we gave away the Cowboys game as well when Justin Fields is still quarterback. So it could be better, but it could be worse. So,
yeah, I mean, 500 ball the rest of the way. I mean, that's really pessimistic talk. I mean, I can be pessimistic. I'm not a fan.
right.
But 500 ball the rest of the way, you'd feel pretty good about yourselves getting in the playoffs. First off, let's say that. Let's just call a spade a spade. This is not the Steeler team that I've seen for several years now.
Since COVID.
Post Big Ben, since COVID, essentially, where they're a good football team. They win a lot of games, but they're Iowa.
Yes.
Okay. I just thought that, and I know you said they're the 2 New York teams, and I mostly agree with that, but like Russ does feel like he gives them a different element, and it's an element they've been missing. And after 2 games, I just think you got to roll them the rest of the way. He is the best option. Even if there's a rough game in there somewhere, because the quality of opponents that you're going to be playing who are here over the next 2 months we just talked about, it's going to get a little crazy at times. Especially, not to harp on injuries, but neither of us are a big fan of Deshaun Watson. The Browns just got increasingly better by losing their starting quarterback, which not everybody can say that. There's probably 2 teams in the league, the Colts and maybe 3 teams, the Colts, the Panthers, and the Browns, get better by losing their starting quarterback, weirdly enough. So, yeah, as far as the Steelers go, moving to Russ was the right decision. I feel better about them as far as a playoff threat than I've ever felt before. I'm not saying they're going to win 1, 2, 3 playoff games. I just feel better today than I have in years past with them. I will say that. So.
Yeah, and I do wonder if maybe we can unlock it. We did use a 3rd-round pick on Calvin Austin. He's had a few games in the past couple of years. He's played last year, now this year, where he'll have a deep ball touchdown. But it seems with Russ, even last week and yesterday, he's integrated more in the offense. And I wonder if how, how in fantasy, no one ever talked about him as a top guy, but in fantasy, Tyler Lockett kind of turned into a really nice for the Seahawks with Russ. Always catching deep balls, and he would play off the number 1. I feel like if there's a way that Russ will integrate his experience with Tyler Lockett and try and make Calvin Austin fit that mold. I'm not saying he's the receiver Tyler Lockett was, but in terms of how he likes to, mix in the deep ball or that off receiver using George Pickens to shift coverage to go to the number 2. That's just kind of inside baseball thought of mine for other Steelers fans. I just wonder if we could start to see something. And outside of one wayward year with the Broncos and some weird coaching stuff, Nate Hackett, he didn't get along with Sean Payton. I mean, for a while we were saying the Seahawks were winning because of Russ.
Yeah.
And this Steelers team is better than those. After the Legion of Boom left, this team, the Steelers, is better than those Seahawks teams were that Russ was carrying too. They were losing a playoff game, but we got to remember this is a Super Bowl champion, 2-time appearance. I think he's top 20 all time in passing yards. I mean,
I didn't realize that.
I mean, well, I'm actually just assuming that because this is his 12th year, and we know Russ is throwing for 400 or 500 yards. I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, you got it.
That is interesting.
I said top 20. I would guess.
I wouldn't be shocked if you were right.
But yeah, so
top passing yard leaders in NFL history. Let's give America their. Here we go. Number 1. Come on.
Tom Brady.
It's the boy. It's the GOAT. Tom. Number 2, Breeze. 3, Manning. 4, Favre. 5, your boy Ben.
Well,
By the way, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Isn't he the only quarterback in NFL history of back-to-back games of 500 yards?
Yeah, he's the only one that's done it 4 times. 3 times? 3 times.
I'm not sure. I know that there was that stretch versus the Ravens and Colts in a 2 back-to-back where he threw for 6 touchdowns in back-to-back games.
Yeah. But to your credit, you're correct on Russell Wilson. But by the end of the next game, he could be 16th all time. He's currently 18th.
Yeah.
Kind of
and
crazy.
Just for those of you listening, on the top 20 all time, there is 4 active quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers at 9, Matt Stafford at 10, Joe Flacco, who's looking to add to that now as the starter at 17, and Russell Wilson at 19.
Flacco is just shy of 2,000 yards back from 15th. Russell Wilson right now is, call it 2,100 yards from 15th. And Kirk Cousins needs about 3,000 yards from that. So, yeah, interesting. I mean, Derek Carr, Andy Dalton in the top 25 too. 2 quarterbacks that we know are okay, but don't have a ton of respect for. And Derek Carr is literally right on Joe Montana's heels, which is kind of crazy.
Also, just some food for thought. If the Steelers go on to do good things here, in November, next month, a month from now, Russell Wilson will turn 36. With the way quarterbacks are playing now, and Russ just has a little bit of scamper in him, but the way he takes care of his body and the way he works, there could be a 3-year deal, a 2 years or a 4-year or 3-year deal coming for Russ after this season, and we could see Russ end his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler potentially. This isn't just a 1-year and done, and the Steelers are going to have to draft and find something. I think they're looking to retain whoever wins this job this year.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I understand Pittsburgh's kind of a unique situation where they have like a win now situation. And this is not even a diss at Russ because I think he's played well. I'm not giving him a penny over 3 years, 75. He's getting $25 million a year. That's it. Okay. And if he doesn't want that, I would move on. I would draft a guy.
I think when it comes to Russ and he's somehow related through, I explained it once, but how he is kind of a part owner of Accurasure almost in the business side of it. Yeah. I think that it could be 3 years, 90 million, like a 30. Well,
I don't love that, but that's like
I'm just saying
that's the market.
I'm just saying anything over those numbers, it may just be incentive based.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be at this point.
Like I wonder if playoff wins and awards could be like multiple millions, not just hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that goes. I know a lot of guys do chase the money, but at this stage, if he wants to add to his legacy as well, we never know how guys are going to react in that situation. But he's a multi-millionaire. His wife is a multi-millionaire. They are both business. Like I don't know if money at this point is the primary objective. And if we can save money on Russ, and we know he's only got 2 to 3 years left as an older quarterback, who knows how much the Steelers, who have had these troubles with quarterback under Mike Tomlin, who knows how much they're willing to spend on Justin Fields to try and keep him as a backup. There's plenty of teams in the league that pay their backups. Could Justin take $7 to $10 million a year, and we'd pay the quarterback position $40 to $45 million a year, but it's split between 2 guys in kind of a 75-25% ratio. So it's about how much you're spending on the position too, not just player. But I feel like we spend enough time in the Steelers. People are going to see them a lot. What I think is better to the eye, like you said about Russ and how this offense looks, TJ Watt in the defense, and the Steelers, I think from a neutral perspective, are a better watch now with Russell Wilson. The Steelers, Ravens, Texans, and Chiefs are part of the 4 teams that do the 2 games back-to-back that are isolated on Christmas Day and then the Saturday Netflix exclusive. So that's a pretty cool like 4 teams. If the Steelers now have an offense that has put up 30 in back-to-back games and then followed it up with a 26, kneeling the ball out to end it.
Yeah. Talk a little Patriots. There's not a ton here, but Drake Maye, he gets what now we're on start number 3, I think.
He got hurt last game? Is he starting next week?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that yet, but he did just start his 3rd game. They got the win, so I guess you can say he got a win, his first win as a starter, though he did not finish the game, unfortunately. He did get injured. But I will say these last several weeks, it has been just a complete change of energy. It's been a much better watch. And I don't think I'm overreacting here. I try to remain, especially at this point in my New England fandom, I think I can remain pretty reserved and not so biased. Drake Maye's already better than Mac Jones. Like, it's not even close. Like, what I have seen already is night and day better than Mac Jones. I will watch this type of football of us losing with him playing quarterback and still have fun watching this than what I was watching Jacoby. And I'll watch Jacoby if he's the starter. Unfortunately, it's just tough because Jake's got a lot of upside. He's got a live arm, and that's such a thrown around phrase, but he has literally a live arm. It's just what he's able to do with the football versus what I've seen the last multiple of quarterbacks that have taken the field for New England, whether that be Jacoby Brissett, whether that be Brian Hoyer, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. Basically everybody since Tom Brady, just a cannon. I understand the comps to Justin Herbert now. Makes a lot of sense.
I also think that from the neutral, it's much more fun to be like, yeah, the Patriots may not be good, but if they're one of the 4:30 games and they're on, like Drake Maye slings that pill, it's kind of fun to watch. And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I would say the Patriots are on track for a top 6 pick, I think, in the draft. And a lot of those other teams, well,
I'm hoping it's top 3 or 4.
Will still, a lot of those top teams will be targeting quarterbacks. You guys are not. You look at a Tedero, a McMillan, you look at a Luther Burden, you look at a Emeka Egbuka, some receivers that I may be missing, but those top guys, you could get a receiver, and then early in the or offensive lineman. The tackles that are coming out, Kelvin Banks from Texas, Will Campbell from LSU, and then early in the second, if you want to add a receiver, there's plethora of them, but there's also who knows where Ashton Jeanty is going to go. Who knows where Travis Hunter for receiver. That's the one I was forgetting.
Yeah.
But Ashton Jeanty, Quinshawn Judkins, Trey, there's a lot of weapons that we can start to see. Like, college is producing a lot of skill players, it seems, every year, especially with NIL and players being more advanced. That in 1 to 2 years under Drake Maye, the Patriots could totally flip and be explosive. I mean, you have some receivers now that are playing well. So I just think it's, I don't know, the better quarterback play in the league, the better it is to watch it. So I'm all for it. I'm glad Drake Maye is doing well. All the rookies really are, to be honest with you.
It's never quote unquote fun as a fan to draft a tackle.
Nice,
and this coming draft has a lot of very fun players. You alluded to a lot of them, and I would love to go out and get a smash hit playmaker. I've watched every Patriot game. They can't block a soul. They have to use their first 2-round picks on linemen. That's how bad it is. Last year they drafted 2 wide receivers. I'd like them to kind of wait till the 3rd round to get one this year. They need to go linemen the first two rounds. And to be honest, if they could kind of trade a top 5 pick and get maybe 2 first-round picks at some point this year, that would be wild. If there's a team that has that would be great. And be able to get 2 first-round offensive linemen. But right now, wide receiver is not even a position of need, crazy enough. So, sucks, but they have to go linemen. They have to. Speaking of trades and things of that such nature, NFL has been going crazy. Since we've last talked, Devontae Adams traded from the Raiders to the Jets. Same day or next day, it was really close to each other. Amari Cooper traded to the Bills. And then this past week, DeAndre Hopkins gets traded to Kansas City. And then the Ravens get involved. They trade for Deontay Johnson from the Panthers, former Steeler. And then another player on the move was a pass rusher, Josh Uche from New England to Kansas City. So all the top AFC teams, it's been an arms race lately for wide receiver talent / now pass rusher talent. I think we will see more wide receivers dealt. The Rams were one of those teams before they, kind of inserted themselves as quote unquote back on Thursday night. What did you think of some of the trades?
I thought it was exciting to see Devontae go back to Aaron, but I mean, then they've lost to the Steelers and Patriots in back-to-back weeks. So I guess
our boys are just slaughtering the Jets, and to be honest, I love every single moment of it.
I mean, Devontae wanted to lose to the Steelers back-to-back weeks. That was pretty neat. So it's fun for maybe fantasy, but I mean, the Jets, I've kind of said it a few times, kind of over the Jets. Love DeAndre Hopkins. Heard this from Nick Wright. Do you know how many quarterbacks? Did you hear it? So DeAndre Hopkins
or something?
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins has caught a pass from 17 different quarterbacks.
And the crazy thing is 19 have thrown him a pass. He didn't catch 2 of them.
Yeah, it was Malik Murphy and Derrick Henry were the 2 that have thrown a pass to him, but he didn't catch it. But I like cheering for D-Hop. He is one of the 6 players that I have a jersey of theirs that they're not a Steeler. It is a Dark Vapor Cardinals jersey, so it's pretty outdated. But I'm very excited to see D-Hop. I mean, the Chiefs are an absolute wagon. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think is going to carry the team, but that is the last thing they need. They run first. Travis Kelce. They just have smart guys and keep positions to keep the chains moving. They're going to be formidable. So that helps. Josh Uche on the other side. I think the Chiefs currently have the best defense in the NFL, is what it seems. And to add Josh Uche is pretty remarkable. Deontay Johnson has been awfully quiet on the Panthers, but this is a guy who was ranking top 10 every year he was in the league in yards of separation. He's quick, yards at the catch. Some question marks about his want to. But, however, on a team that is so good, I feel like players want to is not something that needs to be challenged. They have a chance to win a championship. So to have guys like Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, Bateman's now your 3, Mark Andrews is resurrected, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. I mean, they definitely have holes on defense, especially through the air. But, I mean, they're a Kyle Hamilton drop pick from winning 6 games in a row, and their offense is formidable, and it just got better. But that's what you got to do. Right now it's a little bit of an arms race. So when you got Lamar Jackson and you haven't been to a Super Bowl with them yet, this is what you got to do. And I think that's the best move of all of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. A team that really comes to mind that it has to be looking for a wide receiver is the Buccaneers, obviously in the NFC. The AFC, I just think these teams are already really good, and they just keep stacking each other because they just know, like.
Oh, I didn't mention it, but Amari Cooper's a really nice pick. Not just because it's Amari Cooper, but as we've seen through 2 weeks, it has unlocked Keon Coleman a little bit, big time. He's had a lot of big catch plays. He's got a touchdown or 2 now. To be able to be the number 2 guy, and you could even argue further than that with the way they use their tight ends. James Cook is doing it all. Josh Allen's such a headache. Keon Coleman now as a rookie is saying, hey, I get the second corner, and I'm on an island every play. And it's just a massive confidence boost because when you play for a guy like Josh Allen or in the past Big Ben or people like that, it's like your routes don't have to be 2 seconds. They can be 3 and 4 seconds now, and it's hard to cover anybody with that kind of time. So Amari Cooper, what he unlocks for the rest of the team, I think is massive.
Yeah. Let's do some rankings, shall we?
Sure.
We haven't done this in several weeks here. I'm very curious of where we line up. Number 1, KC. Who you got?
I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I would encourage anyone to stop listening if we would have not said the Chiefs.
You got the Lions too, right?
Detroit, yes, sir.
Lions. We are neck and neck. I think you have the Bills 3.
I have Buffalo 3.
Yep. Okay. This is where it gets a little interesting. You got the Ravens 4.
No.
Okay. Let's have some fun. Who you got 4?
I actually have the Green Bay Packers at 4.
Okay. I don't hate it. I think it's a little high.
I think their defense has been fantastic, especially if you're looking at just fantasy ratings, but their defense has been great. Jordan Love's been good, and when he's hurt, they're winning games in great fashion with Malik Willis. I think their coaching staff, what they have going on, they're not blowing teams out, but and they're coming off a win against the Texans, which is huge too. They've beaten some good teams. I'm gonna have the Packers at 4, 6-2. They've also played one more, or they've won one more game than the Ravens as well. So.
Okay, so I have the Ravens 4. I have the Texans 5. Who do you have 5?
I have the Ravens at 5.
Okay.
And they're the only team in this top here that they're the first team with 3 losses that I have. But I mean, like, I don't know. You just watch them play, and they're one of the 5 best teams in the league.
Yeah, so, I agree. Who do you have 6?
Texans.
Okay.
I thought about having the Texans above the Ravens, but with the news of Stephon Diggs gone with an ACL and Nico Collins is still banged up, it's like I kind of took that into consideration. They just came off a loss, but 6 is a good spot for them, I feel.
Yeah, I had them at 5. You have them at 6. I have the Vikings at 6. I have Green Bay at 7. Who do you have at 7?
I have the Vikings at 7.
Okay. We are dead nut tied in the top 7. We have a slight – our biggest thing is I have the Vikings a little higher. You have Green Bay significant. I say way higher. You have them at the top of these 4 teams.
Our 4 through 7 is the same. Our 4 through 7 is the same.
I think our 1 through 8 might be. Do you have Pittsburgh at 8 or Washington at 8?
I have – so hold on one second, just sticking with the Vikings. I like that you put the Vikings and Packers right next to each other because I wanted to do that at first. They play this weekend. So yeah. The Vikings coming off of 2 straight losses. And
no, they don't. The Lions and the Packers play this weekend.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, either way, the Vikings coming off 2 losses. I had them at 10, and then I was looking at it and I was like, they've lost 2 games. I do think teams are starting to figure out Sam Darnold a little bit. Flores' defense is not nightmarish right now. They've lost 2 in a row. Let me give them a chance to bounce back. But remember, I was low on the Vikings at the beginning, and I'm just wondering if people are starting to figure them out just a little bit. But we'll see.
I'll say this. I'm going to defend the Vikings because I have them at 6. You have them at 7. It's not like you have them farther. So they're undefeated. They're 5-0. They lose to their divisional rival, the Lions, in basically a prove-it game for the Lions. Hey, are you still on top of this division? And they almost lost it. People forget. They had to come from behind and kick a field goal. They had led the whole game. Vikings came back, took the lead in the 4th quarter. So it was a back-and-forth game. The very next week, people forget this, on a short week, they find out, just like the entire world, that Puka and Kupp are all of a sudden active. All week, it was they're probably not going to play. Puka wasn't even to talk about. And then all of a sudden, 2 hours before kickoff, it's like they're both playing.
He goes, they combined for 150 and 2 tuds.
Like, what the hell? Like, it came out of nowhere. So, like, I don't think they were prepared for them. And Stafford had a turn back the clock type of game. I'm just here to defend the Vikings. I still think they're very good, as do you. But they have lost 2 in a row. So, again, we have the top 7 the same. I think we might be right here, 8-9. I have Pittsburgh, Washington. Who do you have 8-9?
I have Washington, Pittsburgh.
Okay, so we just swapped those. We're neck and neck, now, top 9 here.
I wanted to point something out here, too. About the Commanders. I know we all love the Commanders and Jaden Daniels awesome and all this other stuff. But they lost to the Buccaneers and the Ravens. Bucs were a pretty good team with full health, and the Ravens are studs. Their wins are the Giants, Bengals, Browns, Panthers. They did beat the Cardinals, which is, I guess, a good win, still a 4-4 team. And it took a Hail Mary to beat the Bears when Caleb Williams had a bad day. So although they've won, I'm looking at their wins, and it's like the Bears on a Hail Mary, Panthers below 500, Browns below 500, Cardinals 500, Bengals below 500, Giants below 500. They have not beat a team with a winning record yet outside of the Bears, and again, it took a Hail Mary at home to beat them. So I'm not saying they're not good. I'm not trying to squash what they've done. They're 6-2, and I like Jaden Daniels, and this team's better than I thought they were going to be. But they do have Eagles twice. I mean, even still, I'm looking at their schedule. Steelers, Eagles twice, but the Cowboys aren't very good right now. The Titans, they play the Saints, and they play the Falcons. It's like this team could end up with 11 wins, and I just wonder if we're going to – I don't know. I feel like they haven't beat anybody good yet.
Let me defend them. You have their schedule?
Yeah.
Their first game of the year, wasn't it against the Buccaneers?
Yeah.
On the road?
Yep.
Correct. So rookie quarterbacks on the road week 1, historically low win percentage.
Right.
Like horrific. So throw that loss out, okay?
Okay.
Go in order real quick.
Host the Giants.
Bad.
At the Bengals.
The Bengals were 0-2. They needed a win so badly. And they
that was the game Jaden Daniels had 1 incompletion. Remember, he set that rookie record. It was Monday night.
The Bengals were playing for their life that night. Started the game super hot, and he killed them. Okay? So I'll defend him there. Go to the next one.
At Cardinals.
Cardinals have been – I thought they could be somewhere in this fun range this year. I wasn't quite sure. Remember, I predicted them to beat Buffalo week 1. I think they're solid, and they are winning the NFC West, weirdly enough. I'll defend that one, too. Keep going.
Browns.
Yeah, they're trash.
Ravens.
Wasn't that close?
Touchdown. 30-27. Or
on 30, the road. In Baltimore?
30. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's the next one?
Panthers.
Trash.
That was where Jaden kind of went out and Marcus Mariota dismantled the Panthers.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trash. Next.
And then the 18-15 against the Bears.
Yeah, and it took a Hail Mary. And the Bears, to be fair, they led that entire game, though. The entire game on field goals. Bears came into the late in the third quarter, and then they scored again the fourth to take the lead. I don't know, man. I wasn't a Washington guy before the season. You were more than me. I'm like, I don't know. They surprised me.
I'm not trying to discredit what they've done. They've played great, and even some of these bad teams like the Browns and Panthers, they've absolutely massacred by 3+ touchdowns. I'm just saying, if you want to count the Cardinals, there's 3 teams that are 500 or better, and they've lost to 2 of them. That's all I'm saying. The Steelers are kind of similar. I didn't pull up their schedule. I can right now. The Steelers, the Steelers wins are better. But
yeah,
Falcons, Broncos, all 500 and better.
I have a feeling our 10 and 11 are the same. They might be switched.
Wait, okay,
Falcons, Eagles for me.
I generously put the Eagles at 10. I had them way higher and moved them down. Everybody knows that I'm high on them. They've won 3 games straight, but again, it was Giants, Bengals, or Bears, Giants, Bengals. So they've beaten some bad teams, so I didn't want to put them too high. And this week they're playing Jacksonville in Philadelphia.
Who do you have 11? Do you have Atlanta?
I have the Chicago Bears at 11. If the Chicago Bears don't give up that Hail Mary, they're tied with the Commanders, and they're both 5-2, or they're both at 2 losses.
You make a good point, but we just don't agree there. I have them significantly lower.
I think the Bears would beat the Falcons if they played this weekend.
I disagree. We don't have to agree. I just massively disagree.
That's okay.
Do you have the Falcons at 12?
I had like a Falcons, 49ers, Broncos. Like I didn't know who to put at 12, but I have it in the order of Falcons, Broncos, Niners. That's the order I have it in.
My 12, I literally wrote whatever team you deem the best team in the NFC West.
I didn't even put the Cardinals on here.
So
or the
let me
Seahawks,
let me say this, because there's a couple teams that I feel like I need to make statements about, and the Bengals are by far the best team under 500 in this league. They just can't win games. There hasn't been a single game where they've been blown out except for the fourth quarter of this last week. They were winning that game, and then the fourth quarter it just comes unraveled. They just cannot close out games, and this has been a problem for them all season. I think the Bengals are really good. Also, I know this is a big if. Shout out Andrew Bradish if he's listening. He kind of, gave me the whole, you're asking a lot of ifs here. If Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are both on the field, the Rams are a very, very good team.
I'd like to put it this way. If I took the 12 to 20 teams, I'm just going to rattle some off here. Bengals, Colts with Joe Flacco, Broncos, Chargers, Bears, Falcons, Buccaneers, Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams. I feel like the teams from 12 to 20 to 22, all of them feel more good than bad. Like there are way more mediocre / good teams than there are bad teams in the NFL. I like all of those teams in certain situations, maybe this or that, not great, not over the top, but all those teams, I tend to lean more on the scale of that's a good football team.
Yeah.
So it's when you ask me who to put at 12, it's even at once you start getting out of the top 6, it's kind of okay, these teams deserve the spot up here. And then you get to 10 through 14 and you're gosh, you could have the team I put at 18 if I had to make a list, but it's I don't hate you for having that spot there. So when you talk about for different reasons, could be injury, could be fluky losses. When you talk about the whole NFC West, the Buccaneers, the Bears, the Broncos, Chargers, Colts, Bengals, it's people would still lean to say the Bengals could beat almost any team on any given Sunday, but their defense is so bad. It's then T. Higgins is out versus the Eagles, and they just don't have enough firepower. It's where is the money on the Bengals? I know they're paying Joe Burrow. Where's the money showing up at? Where else are they?
They're paying Trey Hendrickson. Wait.
Are they? Exactly. And people are well, Jamar Chase is obviously good, Brad, right? But they're not paying him.
No, I think they do have I'd love to break. I don't know. They do have some offensive linemen they paid after the Super Bowl loss. They went out and they spent a bunch on 3 offensive linemen. That's an interesting question.
There's just not enough being asked about the Bengals because when you have what most people would say is unanimously 100% a top 5 quarterback, most people would say top 3. And you just can't find a way to win football games when at one point, didn't he have 12 touchdowns to 1 pick across 3 games and they lost them all?
I will say this: he's losing that top 3 status.
Hey, real quick,
by the minute.
Just a weird thing I just saw. They are 3-1 on the road. They're 0-4 in Cincinnati.
Wow, that's insane.
They're 3-1 on the road this year. They just can't win at home. Their point differential. They're 3-5. Their point differential is only -8.
So their total cap, it says they're 4th. Cap space 18th. They're paying right now Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson. Their left tackle Orlando Brown. Mind you, this is for this season. 2 defensive tackles they're paying. Defensive end Sam Hubbard. Alex Kapka, Jamar Chase. Those are their top 9. I mean, nothing crazy here.
By the way, they're 3 wins. I know they're all on the road. Panthers, Giants, Browns.
Oh, it's not great.
So now it makes sense. Okay, their 3 wins are on the road, but I mean, Deshaun Watson, Browns, Daniel Jones, Giants, and the Bryce – or no, that was Andy Dalton. But I wonder how many times the Panthers have scored over 20. They scored 24 on the Bengals.
Did he lose to the Ravens?
Yeah, 41-38. Remember, they both threw like 5 touchdowns. Him and Lamar.
Threw like 400 and some odd yards. That's right. He lost by a field goal.
Lamar threw for 5 touchdowns. He's lost to the Patriots, Chiefs, Commanders, Ravens, Eagles.
I mean, outside of no, New England included. Those are 5 of the best teams. In seriousness, drop off New England.
Yeah,
those 4 teams are all on our list.
Well, their next 4 games are Raiders, Ravens, Chargers, Steelers. We'll see. I don't want to sit here and break down the Bengals all day. They're 3-5. Joe Shiesty's got to figure it out. Could you imagine they don't pay Jamar Chase? He doesn't sign a contract. They try and franchise him. He sits out, and they trade him to the Chiefs.
That would be.
They trade Jamar Chase to the Lions. He's just playing opposite of Monroe.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is like they have to make a choice on T. Higgins next year. They have a ton of cap space, almost $70 million. They have 2 wide receivers to pay, and if you don't pay one of them, you better draft one. Are we talking playoff picture? We're at what are we at here? 40 minutes.
We can just talk about where they would be at now. We can just kind of briefly talk about the teams. Who knows how long the breakdowns will go, but figure we'd just shout at the top teams. Some of them we've already talked about. You want to go AFC or NFC first? Do you want to do seeding? How you want to do it?
We can start with the AFC seeding, whatever you want to do.
All right, number 1 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean,
yep.
We briefly talked about it. They've lost a bunch of pieces at receiver, but they bring in DeAndre Hopkins. Their defense is leading the charge. There's only 4 quarterbacks in the league this year that have thrown 2 more interceptions than touchdowns. I believe it is Will Levis. 3 of them are in the AFC South. It's Will Levis, Trevor Lawrence. Who's the other? Anthony Richardson. And the 4th one is Patrick Mahomes. So I know the numbers aren't there. He's in the league regardless. At Chiefs. I mean, what else is there to say?
It's really frustrating. We haven't really talked about Mahomes much, or even really broken down the Chiefs. We've just simply said, yeah, they're still undefeated. The way they're doing it, every game seems to be tight, and every game they seem to finish and mostly control the game, to be fair. It's not like they're trailing. They're just tight games. They're not blowing anybody out. I'm frustrated because this is who everybody says is the slayer of the GOAT. Like, this is the next guy. And currently today, he has 8 touchdowns and 9 picks. Am I saying that correct?
Yeah, I read this stat before this game against